Yeah, so what you just saw is a real, genuine, direct upload from the Nintendo YouTube channels of all things. Completely out of nowhere, seemingly random, and with so many implications. This is footage from Nintendo's Close to You short film. It's a short film, right? That's what this is, that's what it looks like. Strange anyway that it's kind of just a very, very kiddie video. I'm not quite certain exactly who the demographic for, other than just to tell an emotional story for a baby. But this is weird, right? Nintendo, gaming company. They don't necessarily make films, or if they do, they're typically crossovers with Illumination. Or if it's doing Zelda content, it's in live action form instead. So what does this mean? Why now, and what does it even imply? Well, there's a few things to address here, and extrapolate where things go further. So, for a start, while Nintendo is generally known for their video games, and pretty exclusively so, animation isn't actually new to Nintendo, and we've seen dedicated animation projects from them all sorts of times in the past. Obviously, the most notorious one is the crossover with Illumination to make the Mario movies. That as well has now the new Mario Galaxy movie upcoming. But alongside that, you've also got short films of their movies, which has already been made from the Mario movie, because Illumination already makes short films of all of their animated movies. There are a million Minion shorts, and you can bet with them having hands on the Mario IP, they're going to be running with that a whole chunk as well too. But then even just going through the Nintendo channel itself, there's all sorts of examples of commercials and PSAs that they had a dedicated animation team run through and use their character IPs to be the protagonist of said story. You've got the likes of the ones like Bowser using the parental controls to handle Bowser Jr. If you do explore into full-on commercials, there's all sorts of live action crossovers, particularly with Pikmin stuff in the later games. And then also, obviously, you got the likes of Super Smash Bros., which had dedicated animated short films for the reveals of any individual character. This is by no means new territory for Nintendo as a history thing, but uploading this with no attention to any gaming IP, or at least visibly, is particularly new. Now, the animation team built into Nintendo and typically also credited in the likes of the Mario movie with Illumination is Nintendo Pictures, and I would go to assume that this baby video also was made by them. With it being in-house as well, you can assume this wasn't a particularly expensive venture for them to make, just a fun little side project, and who knows, maybe they are just aiming for a nice film festival accolade. With them being now more in talks with Illumination people and generally people of the film industry, maybe that's a direction they're interested in going in, and they certainly have the resources to make something, and have seen with their own 2 eyes and bank accounts how far profits can go in the animation field. Although I will say, at least in this short film, there is at least one error in one shot where you can see the label for the shot being used, but hey, what can you do? More so than that, if you've clicked on this video particularly, you may be wondering, what exactly is this? Why is this here? Is there any connection to any video game IP? And the answer is yes. And there's quite a chunk of evidence for one in particular. I won't talk in it very long if you're not interested in the gaming stuff. But this is actually a Pikmin short film. Of course, I would be the one to say that. If you ever look at my oldest videos on this channel, I was a dedicated Pikmin content creator back in the day. But no, this is a Pikmin short. The reason all of these objects are magically moving themselves is it's invisible Pikmin. And while that might sound a little bit like a madman at a pinboard, this is actually a direction that the later Pikmin games seem to be insinuating. As though the early games were very much based in a post-apocalyptic world, later stuff actually integrates with modern human environments, and Shigeru Miyamoto himself likes to say that generally Pikmin are all around you, you're just completely unaware. They're like fairies. And with a title like Close to You, that would be very fitting that these magical creatures are always close to you. Hey there, they can make it to the halfway mark of this video. Come subscribe since you're interested so far. I'll keep an eye on more Nintendo animation if that's a dedicated thing they're doing now. But otherwise, let's get back to the second half of this interesting surprise. Also, apparently in the mobile game Pikmin Bloom, it is canon that Pikmin are invisible to humans. That's why the dummy stretches. It's probably 2 Pikmin pulling it in different directions. There's also other evidence, like all sorts of Pikmin leitmotifs in the soundtrack, whether it is the main theme, the end of day theme, or just Humming with Pikmin, which is its own dedicated song number that is also released on the Nintendo channel. Basically, the evidence is there. And maybe in one regard, this is just a tease for the next Pikmin project. It links up with the idea that modern human evidence is around, but also taking things particularly kiddie in this short film, which I wouldn't be on board with in a Pikmin game. And from a conspiracy perspective, maybe it's the fact that the new Nintendo of America head is also notably a Pikmin fan, means maybe that's why they're leaning in that direction, yada yada yada. But while it could be just hinting at a new game, I think it could also be emblematic of Nintendo testing the waters, seeing how something like this does, and then potentially taking things further in the future, and I think that's very exciting. As a Pikmin fan, Nintendo fan turned movie content creator, yeah, I want to see animated stuff from all sorts of Nintendo IP. Because it's clear in the history of stuff they've showcased to us in the past that they do have some real powerhouse animators built into their house. And though I'm not crazy on particularly how slightly more realistic Cocomelon short film that this has turned out, I think this could have some very nice implications, as it also shows that Illumination doesn't have a full grip on Nintendo's animation output going forwards. It's already been a bit of a grumble that the live-action Zelda movie is going to be live-action, so in that way kind of limited in some of the things they can show on screen. But the idea that Nintendo is still dabbling in animation of their own has all sorts of insinuations on where things can go based on the results of an upload like this. Whether that does directly mean this is going into a Pikmin movie, I would of course absolutely adore it. And funnily enough, actually I did do a collab discussion on how a Pikmin movie could be made, though I made the pitch that it should be an Aardman stop motion movie rather than anything else. But also there is specifically direct short films of Pikmin in animated form already, so for there to be more in the modern day also lines up too. Kinda having more of a chibi robo vibe these days, which I can totally get on board with, since that's also a niche gaming franchise I adore. And that one's properly dead. Regardless, though there's not really too much to show with the visuals of this short film other than, whoa, there's something moving in the background. I think it's just another object being pushed by a Pikmin that's also invisible, but sure, that's nice. Really, this does just seem to be a test experiment to see where things go from here. I'd be surprised if this outright wins awards at film festivals. It's just a nice emotional story of baby's first steps. And if it leads to a Pikmin game, great. If it leads to a Pikmin film, brilliant. And if it leads to all sorts of more Nintendo animation stuff in their own field, and maybe or maybe not with gaming IPs involved, I would adore that. I've already made the transfer over from Nintendo to movies. I'd love for Nintendo to somewhat do the same. Regardless, I was just in the middle of trying to record other videos about movies, and this just popped up in the way, so what an interesting direction this day has gone already. For now though, I'd best end it off there. I've got all sorts of other videos on all sorts of relevant topics, whether it is Nintendo content you want, Pikmin content, coverage of the Illumination stuff, or directly more Nintendo and animation stuff. Check a look around for all the things I've done in the past, and I'll certainly keep an eye on whatever Nintendo does in the future. For now though, I'd best end it off there. My name's been Daz, thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Do tell me your thoughts on this. Had you seen it before? What on earth do you pass from all of this? What a weird one. I'd love to hear all of your thoughts and more, and where you think Nintendo's going next. You can never really predict them, can you? And I shall see you all in a little bit. Cheerio.